everyone, myself Diksha Agrawal. I'm a BTech first year student from the Department of Data Science and Artificial Intelligence here in IT, Turkey. I welcome you all to the video presentation of building a CPP code to build a tic-tac-toe game. In this video, we'll be learning the logic and the code that is required to build the game. So before learning the game, before learning the code to write the game, let us understand the game. So this is basically a two-player game played on a 3x3 grid. Let you and your friend to be the two players. Consider you as X and your friend to be a 0. In this, the two players need to fit their symbols on their desired cells alternatively, and the first of the two players to get 3 of their marks on either a row, column, or a diagonal is the winner. So in writing the code, let us come up with a concept that is required. The concept that is required here in this code is arrays. So what is arrays is, arrays basically allows the user to list the elements of the same data type in a very well structured manner. As here is an example mentioned, all the elements here are integers, and the elements are 2, 4, 8, 12, 16, and 18, and the index starts from 0. Now let us come up with a logic that are required to build the code. So as you can see in the photograph that it is a game which is played on a 3x3 grid. So at first we need to design the tic-tac-toe game board, which is a 3x3 grid. After designing, let's come to the second step. As already mentioned that it is a two-player game, and in the game the two players need to be feeding their symbols in their desired cells alternatively. So we just need to keep a check on the current player's turn, and also after each move we just need to ensure that the turns get switched among the players. Now we have already designed the board, we have switched the values, switched the turns and the moves among the two players. Now we must also ensure that the user or the player may be able to implement their moves. So at first we need to take the input from the user. In this game the player will be specifying the they will be specifying the desired location of the cell in which they want to feed the symbol. So program should be able to accept their desired cell. It should be able to accept their input. After the user have given their input, the program must be able to validate that the cell which is given as an input by the user is empty or not. Then after the user has given the input and after validating, if the cell is empty, then the program should be able to put the symbol of that player in the desired location which is mentioned by the user. So after now the game setup is complete, like we have designed the board, we have switched the turns or the moves among the two players, and also taken input from the user and put the symbol at the desired location. We just need to check for the winning conditions. So as mentioned that in this game, the winner is considered as the first player who just get the 3 of the symbols on either a row, column, diagonal, or the any of these 3 conditions. So for the row, we just need to check each row, column, or diagonals. So we just need to iterate through each row and checking if there is any other row present in which all the cells have same symbol, and we just need to check the same with the column and the diagonals. If in case we didn't find the program didn't find any row, column, or a diagonal which has the same symbols, then it is a tie condition, ensuring that each and every cell is filled. Now let us come up with the code, and we'll see the code in Visual Studio Community, and we'll learning each and every step and see the output. So this is a CPP code which is written to build the tic-tac-toe game. Let me first introduce to you that each and every line written in green in this code is comments. These comments are written to just increase the readability of the code. They are not involved in the actual code. So the first line of the code is this hash include iostream. So hash include iostream, this line is written to include the input output stream library, which includes various input output functions like cin and cout. Using namespace std, this line enables the user to use input output functions like cin and cout without prefixing the each and every cin and cout with std. Next, I have created a array or naming board which consists of 10 elements having data type character, which is denoted by char at the beginning. Next, I have created a function naming winner. The data type of this function is int, and this function is created with a purpose so that I can feed the conditions of winning the game or the conditions so the game is tie. I have used if else loop to feed the conditions in this function. So let's start. As already mentioned, that the condition for the winning the game is that um, like the any of the rows has three same symbols or any of the columns or any of the diagonals. So let us feed the condition for signals at for rows at first. So if a row, let me show you the board. So this is a board. I'll be explaining you this in the later scene. So here 1, 2, 3 denotes a row, and 1, 4, 7 denotes a column, and 1, 5, 9 denotes a diagonal. So, so in the first if loop, I am making a value of I am checking if the value of the board 1 is equals to board 2 and board 2 equals to 3. Means the value of board 1, 2 and 3 are equal. It means the elements of the row 1 is same. In the next two loops as well, I am checking the rows. Like it's 1, 2 and 3. This contains 4, 5 and 6, and this contains 7, 8, 9. So these three lines are for the conditions for checking if the elements of the rows, any of the rows are equal or not. The next three conditions you can see as one, we are checking the conditions that if 1, 4, 7 means a column, all the elements of a column are equal or not. In this we are checking the column first, in this we are checking the column second, and in this we are checking the column third. In the next these two conditions we are checking the diagonals 1, 5 and 7, and in the next is 3, 5 and 7. As you can see here, the thing is return 1. So what does it mean? It means that if any of these conditions, like if any of the row, any of the column, or any of the diagonal is found to contain equal same elements, then the integer 1 will be returned. Next is checking next is the line return if we are checking if all the places are filled or not. So here if board 1, like as you must be knowing, this factorial equals means not equals to. So here board 1 is not equals to 1, and similarly we are continuing as up to 9. So we are checking if any of the board is not containing its original value. It means that it might contain either x or 0, which must be given as an input by any of the player. So if we found any of the places which is not empty, means if the board is completely filled, then the code will be returning 0. And the next is else loop. In this, if we found any of the above conditions which is not filled, which is not fulfilled, I mean, like you can see if none of the row, none of the column, and none of the diagonal have same symbols, and if the board is completely not filled, then it will be returning -1. So this was a winner function. Now I here created another function naming setup, and the data type of this function is void. It means that it will not be returning anything. In this function, I just use this statement system CLS. What does this statement represent? This statement cleans the console screen. Now what does it mean? Let me show you again. Suppose let me be the player 1, I enter the value 2. So as I entered the value 2, you must have seen that the original tic-tac-toe board got updated and the X is present at the place 2. Now if I again enter, say the value 6. So now you can again see that the value at 6 is updated to 0. So this is what this statement is performing. So what is happening is this statement deletes the old tic-tac-toe board and displays the updated board. In these two statements, we are just printing the two statements, tic-tac-toe game and player 1 and player 2, which are these two lines. This is tic-tac-toe game and player 1x and player 2 0. Uh, you can see there is space left over in the horizontal space. This is caused due to this slash t. Now here I have used the cout function to print the tic-tac-toe board. Like I have used the lines here and underscores here to create a tic-tac-toe board. Now here comes the main function whose data type is integer. So in this code, at first I have defined three variables, naming player, I and choice having data type integer. I have assigned a constant, sorry not constant, I have assigned a value of 1 to the player and I and choice are still not defined. Also I have defined another variable naming mark having data type character. So let us see that why do I have defined these four variables player, I, choice and mark. Player will be the variable which will be keeping the track on whose turn it is, like whichever player, player 1 or player 2 is making a move at the present. Then I will be the variable which will be storing the result of the winner function. We'll be getting its meaning in few more minutes. Next, the third one is third variable defined here is choice. Choice is a variable which will be storing the player's desired set. Like as defined as mentioned earlier, that in this game the player will be required to feed their desired cell as an input. So choice will be storing that desired cell. Mark. The variable will be storing the symbol by the player. Like uh, if the input is given by the player 1, then it will be storing the symbol X, and if the input is given by the player 2, then then the mark will save the symbol 0. At next we do have defined a do while loop. Sorry, we have defined a do while loop. This do while loop, the form like we have defined this do while loop because to continuously display the tic tac toe board till the game is continuing, and will be allowing the players to enter the desired cells till the game is continuing. So at first we have defined here the setup function, which we have defined earlier here, which function was to delete the old tic-tac-toe board and display the new updated board. So next we do have used ternary operators. What are ternary operators? Actually, ternary operators are the operational operators which just do evaluation for expression based on a particular condition. Like let's see, here we have defined player equals to player percentage 2. As we know that its feature is to check the remainder. Like as we know that initially we do have assigned a value of 1 to the player. So at this moment the player is having a value 1. Sorry. Uh, this will be giving a remainder when player will be divided by 2. So if the player at now value of player is 1. So when 1 will be divided by 2, the remainder will be 1. So this statement mentions that so this these two symbols mention that if the remainder is 1, then the value of the player will be 1. But if the remainder is 0, then the value of the player will be 2. Let me again explain. This statement mentions that if the remainder, when the player will be divided by 2, the remainder is non-zero, that is 1, then the value of player will be player 1. And if the value of remainder, when player will be divided by 2 is non-zero, it means the value of the player will be 2. It means second player will be making a move. We are displaying here the line and taking input from the user. Choice, as mentioned earlier, choice of the variable which will be holding the desired cell made as an input by the present player. Now mark. As defined, mark is a variable which will be holding the symbol, which will be saving the symbol made by the symbol like made by the player. So if player equals to 1, then mark will be X, and if the player will be 2, then the mark will be 0. Here we do have defined if else loop. We have defined the if else loop to check if the choice made by the player is valid or not. It means it is empty or not. So let's say let it be a player 1 and the cell chosen by the player 1 is, let's say, 2. So if the player, or let's come to this, if the choice is 2, and if board 2, like cell 2 is equals to 2, then the board 2 equals to mark. What does it mean here is, let me show you. Yeah. As you can initially see that this is having value 1, the cell 1 is having value 1, cell 2 is having value 2, and cell 3 is having value 3, and so on. Initially, the value of cell 2 is 2. If its value is not 2, then it must be having either x or 0, which must be given as an input by any of the player 1 or 2. So here, if the choice made by, as we know that the choice made by the player 1 was 2, if board 2 is equals to 2, it means it is empty. It does not contain any mark made by any of the player. So it is empty. Now the board 2 will be filled as the mark, and the mark will be the symbol depending on the player. Same we have written the loop for 1 to 9. Now, in else we have defined like, suppose the desired cell made by the player is already pre-filled. Like the player 1 has chosen the cell 1, and if this cell 1 is already chosen by the another player or the same player, then we will be displaying the line invalid move. Now here we had the done player minus minus, meaning we have decremented the player. Now what does it mean? It means, suppose like player 1 has made the choice 1, which was already used, but like as the player 1 had made the move, so now turn will be switched to player 2. But as player 1 has made invalid move, so we just need the player 1 to again re-enter the value. So we need to decrement the turn from player 2 to player 1, so that the player 1 can make a move once again. So we here did the decrementation of the player. Here we have written two lines, cin dot ignore and cin dot get. Like, let me explain. Sometimes what happens is whenever the user makes an input using the cin function, then before the program can process the data like made as an input using cin, which could be a text or a number. Before the program could process it, it gets stored in something known as the buffer. So it just presented the buffer may cause mess in the for the future coding. So C.ignore just ignore that previous data and prevent confusion for the program. Next is we do have cin.get. Cin.get in this function what does is like it just read the character until the user presses enter button. So let us see further now. I equals to winner player plus plus. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that I as a variable is defined to store the result of the winner function. Now, at first, let us go to the function winner. This is a winner function. So, what will be the given as I? These values return 1, return 0, and return -1 will be assigned to the I. Now, let us see. If any of the row, that is as already explained, if any of the row 1, 2 and 3 are found to have equal symbols, then the value 1 will be returned to I. If 4, 5, 6, that is row 1, row 2 and row 3, if any of the 3 row is found to have same symbols, then the value 1 will be returned to I. Similarly, if any of the column 1, 4, 7, that is if any of the column first column, second column, and third column is found to contain same symbol, then again the value 1 will be returned to I. And and here's the diagonals. If any of the diagonal, that is 1, 5, 9 or 3, 5, 7, if any of the diagonal is found to contain same symbols, then again the 1 will be returned to I. In this section of the winner function, we are checking that if all the places are filled or not. As I told earlier, if board 1 is not equals to 1, then it might be x or 0, which must be given as a symbol by any of the player 1 or 2. So, but if we found that all the places are filled, that is none of the board is empty, then 0 will be returned to I. Next is, if and if none of the above condition is fulfilled, that is, like none of the row is having a same symbol, none of the column have same symbol, and none of the diagonals have same symbols, as well as the board is empty, it's have vacant spaces, then -1 will be returned to I. Now let us see the conditions. So I equals to winner plus plus, pair plus plus, like as I have mentioned that the values will be given to I, and after each and every move the player will be incremented by 1. This is done to switch the move between the two players. So this was our whole do while loop. What the functions that took place in do while loop were, like at first we just deleted the old TikTok board and just tic-tac-toe board, and just displayed the new updated board using this setup function. Next, using these ternary operators, we just switch between the two players and took the input from the players according as per their turn. Here we took input from the players depending upon the depending if the position, if the cell they are choosing is empty or not. Here we deal to the case when the player is of choosing a cell which is already filled. Here we incremented the player. This whole do while loop continued until I equals to -1. What do I mean here by I equals to -1? As we saw in the winner function, that when -1 will be returned, it will be returned when all the when there is vacant spaces in the tic-tac board, and we have still not found any row, column, or any diagonal which have same symbols. It means this game is still continuing. So the whole meaning of do while loop here was that the do while loop, this deleting of the old tic-tac-toe board and updating of the new one, taking switching between the players, taking input from the players. This whole do while loop continued until and unless the game is continuing. Now I defined a setup function now. Setup function was what? It was deleting the previous board and was displaying the new board. Here we defined an if else. If I equals to 1. It means if we found any row, column or diagonal having same symbol, then Cout will be the congratulations player minus player wins. What do we mean by minus player? I already mentioned above that suppose the player 1 made a move, then automatically the player 2 will be the move will be switched to player 2. But if the after the move of player 1 the game is completed and the player 1 wins, then the present player of the present value of the player would be player 2, but we wanted to be player 1 to be displayed here, so we did minus player to decrement the player and bring it to the player 1. Else mean if we solve the condition, we just handle the case of I equals -1, which means the game is still continuing. We handle the case of I equals 1, which means we found a row, column, or a diagonal having same symbol. Now the third case is we didn't find any, means the board is complete and we didn't find any row, column, or diagonal to be having same symbol. That it means the game is tie. So we just printed a statement. It's a tie. Play again. Now these two lines again, which I already told the function of these lines, and this int main function will be returning the value 0. Let's see the output of this board now. So this is our output, which is a tic-tac-toe board. So it is displaying these two head lines, which was written through Cout. This is a tic-tac-toe board, and it is asking the player 1 to enter the number. So let me enter the number 4, let's say. So you can see the board is updated. Now it is asking for the player 2 to enter the number. Let me enter 3. It is asking again. So let me enter 7 and let it enter 2. Let me enter 1. So as you can see, the player 1, that is X, a column is found to have same symbol. So it mentioned the statement, congratulations, player 1 wins. Let me show you a case of tie of the game. So let me enter 1, 6, 3, sorry, 3, then 2, let's say 9, 5, 8, 7, and let's. So you can see that there is none of the row, neither column nor a diagonal which have same symbols. So it's showing it's a tie. Play again. So we have seen the code here. Here I have added few explanation of some important functions like its system CLS, which I already explained. This in player equals to I when I equals to I choice mark, and these ternary operators. So in this video, finally we have successfully created a tic-tac-toe game using C++ programming and using the concept of arrays. Thank you so much for your precious time.